Rob, let's get to a little baseball. We ended with talk of Aaron Judge, and he'll be back Friday. And Yankees right now out of the playoffs, but at least in New York, the expectation is that he is going to get them back in that mix and that they will make the postseason. Obviously, everybody hoping he just stays healthy. But other news, Rob, as well, and that is that Commissioner Rob Manfred has had his contract extended officially through the 2029 season, through 2029. Now, Manfred has had an up and down tenure, and to be honest, until recently, mostly down. Everybody remembers and this is just a gaffe, but it doesn't look good for you or the sport, when the commissioner calls the trophy, the World Series trophy, a piece of metal.
Yeah, that was a poor choice of words.
Yeah. It was probably more made of it than it actually was, but still, it just doesn't look good at all. And then I think, Robin, you know this, I've been consistent on this. I just think he dropped the ball completely on the Astros cheating scandal. I just simply put, I think it should have been left vacant. And it bothers me to this day. I know that they've been a great team since then, and they've proven that they're legitimate, but still, we know what they did to win that World Series, and I think they shouldn't have been rewarded like that. But he has come back with a vengeance, Rob, and this year's been a good one for him with the rules changes. So what are your thoughts on Manfred getting this extension?
I think you're right. It has been up and down, Chris. And mostly people had a negative,
right.
A negative feel for the commissioner, and rightfully so. There were some issues there, but you know what? Always it comes down to, Chris, the bottom line. What is the bottom line? Where is the sport heading? He made this is, the old guard, the old gray lady is what baseball is. They don't like to change that many rules. It's not that much of a difference from when Abner Doubleday invented the game, okay? And they don't change the rules. And I was the biggest skeptic. I was. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to baseball. I didn't like the wild card, Chris. I didn't like all these changes and adding another playoff team. And now, this year, the pitch clock. I'm like, ain't no way it's going to make that big of a difference. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, what are we talking here? Oh, are we gearing the game towards people who don't like baseball? When I go to a game, Chris, I expect 3 hours. That's what I expect. If the game goes longer, I get up and I leave and I listen to the rest on the radio on the way home, right? So I wasn't bothered by the time. But you got to give them credit in making these changes to the game, which are monumental. The pitch clock, not allowing a manager to change pitchers 8 times in an inning.
Right.
Taking away the shift so that we have more action. There's more base stealing. All this other stuff.
I don't know that he had Chris, to make the bases bigger.
Right. They claimed it was for safety. You think they might go back to that? They said it was for safety, like people stepping on each other's heels and stuff. Okay. That's what they said. But the base stealing is out of control, as you know. But I guess my only point to this is this is a results business. Chris, baseball attendance is up 8.3 over the same amount of games a year ago. That's significant. The games, I've been to a number of games this summer. I'm not complaining that the game's over in 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Well,
the pace of the game is better.
Right.
I thought it was going to take away from the game, like it becomes some game I didn't recognize or sped up, Chris, where I didn't get the essence of the game. It doesn't feel like that. It feels natural. There's a lot less dead time, and if you're going to criticize him when things are bad and when he comes up with bonehead stuff, you got to give Manfred credit on these changes, which I think have rejuvenated baseball to some people.
I love the rules changes. The only one I even question, and I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, it's got to happen, but it's just the base, as we said.
Because it's a pizza box now.
Reasons, yeah, it's huge. And, we'll see if they change it. Maybe they can make it a little bit smaller. I don't know. But overall, I think it has been great. I think we wanted more stolen bases. When you and I were coming up, that was a big part of baseball. It was a huge part. And we do have that. I think the pitch clock has been terrific. Rob, also, players are being, like, their personalities are showing more. We know a few years ago it was a whole let's make baseball fun again and Bryce Harper and all that. Well, that's one thing that people are seeing, and I like it, and I think most fans like it, is that the players are being allowed to, show their personalities a little more, running around the bases, whatever it might be. The sport as a whole doesn't lend itself to that like basketball does, but they're letting the players' personalities come out a bit more, which I like. I want to ask you this.
And one other number I wanted to throw out, Chris, because I talked about the attendance being up 8.3, 8.6?
8.3%.
Yeah, and the TV ratings have increased 31% on both Fox and FS1. So TV and at the gate, and the average game, Chris, went from 304 last year down to 238. So that's significant, almost 30 minutes.
Right, that's huge. How much? And I know he has the final say, obviously. So he gets the credit, right? Like you said, he gets criticized when things go poorly. So he does ultimately have to get the credit. But how much of the rule changes, how much of it is really on him at the base level, or is he just kind of he agrees to it, signs off, and then he gets the credit, or is it?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. I think this is a lot, because they didn't just do it overnight.
Right.
They implemented this in the minor leagues, and looked at the times. And some of the players, Chris, who are coming up now have played with it in the minor leagues, the younger players.
Right.
And let's not also, while we're giving them credit, also you have a lot of great stars. Ohtani. Ohtani is something that people haven't seen, Chris, and he's doing it at an even higher level. So it's not all him, and there are a lot of great players. Last year, we know. This year, Judge has been hurt, but he's a big draw. Dela Cruz, right. Yeah. There's a lot of kind of fresh, new, young players that are out there that people are interested in. And when we talked about the increased attendance, 22 of the 30 teams have increased attendance. So it's not just you got more attendance because 4 or 5 teams are drawing more people. It's throughout baseball. So I got to give them some credit. Probably not all, but I got to give them credit because had this flopped, Chris, then he wouldn't be getting a new contract extension.
Yeah, look, I think in general, the leagues, you don't want to have to fire a commissioner, right? I think a commissioner would have to be atrocious. Now, he may not get extended, right? If he's really not
well, that's
doing
what
a
it would
great
be.
job.
And you might not say you're fired.
Be horrible to fire a commissioner. Right. Yeah, because it's just not. It almost. Unless a guy was just killing the sport, it's just not worth the PR hit. You're right. You just let him finish out his deal. Hopefully, it wouldn't be too long before you fire him. So, I don't think his offenses. I brought up a few of the things earlier. I don't think they were fireable. So he has been better. He hasn't been the most well-spoken guy, and his that's just not his strength. But like you said, he has done a good job this year with the rules changes. Obviously, a lot of people are involved in those, but at the end of the day, it's on his watch, and so he does get the credit for it. So that's been good. And I like Rob. I like the playoffs. I like the wild card. That's the most in every sport, right? That's the most exciting time of the season, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball. And so more of it, I think, is great. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
I just wonder, where are people on Rob Manfred? I mean, has this season changed them, Chris, in the way they look at him, or do they still look at him as just not a great commissioner? You know what I mean? Like, even with these gains by baseball, there's still some people, I'm sure, who would rather have somebody else as commissioner.
Yeah, look, I don't think this, certainly by any means, I don't think this would make somebody say he's a great commissioner, right? But it kind of gets him back to being, pretty good, right? And he's still, like, obviously 2029, he's still got time. I think if this continues to, be great for the league, these rules changes, I think by the time 2029 rolls around, Rob, if he doesn't have any more, hiccups or anything like that, it could really, change the view of him and him become known as a great commissioner. But I wouldn't think at this point, I certainly wouldn't say great commissioner.
He's got a lot of work to get into that realm where you would say it. But say if these rule changes, Chris, and then some more great players and the attendance continues to get better and the TV ratings continue to get better, and it's a long, like he has a run until 2029, then you might say he was the linchpin that changed baseball's fortune. That's what's riding. Or it could be just 1 year of increased stuff and then it goes back to normal, and then maybe it was just the novelty of it.